It's Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in the Long Beach area today, joined by Laura Doud. She is the city auditor for the city of Long Beach, an elected position here in this beautiful city, and it is beautiful.
Yes, it is.
Really is, from the coast to the parks, to the convention center, to the aquarium. It just goes on and on. But I do want to talk about the parks. And it's undeniable that, you know, economic times have been a little dicey over the last few years, and I want to get a sense, how are the parks doing in the Long Beach area? As the auditor, have you looked at that question?
Yes, we have, and you make a good point. The parks are a beautiful part of the city of Long Beach. The public, the neighborhoods, the people here really value the park space that we have. And I think the city has done a good job in expanding our park space, but we had received some hotline calls from the public regarding their concerns over some of the conditions of our parks. So
and let us remember, and you mentioned this, that Long Beach continues to add parks. I think 16 new parks since 2013. Parks are parks improvements, street medians as well. And so when you add more locations to maintain, presumably you want to see some concomitant funding increases. But like you said, you received some calls, and what were the calls saying to you?
The conditions of the parks had deteriorated, and there was I think it was in combination with the drought.
Right.
The trees were in a state of decline, and the parks were in a state of decline. There was a lot of weeds and trash. There's irrigation problems throughout the city. And although the city had done a good job in expanding park space, they really didn't factor in the maintenance costs to keep our parks at a level that was healthy and sustainable and that was important to the public.
And so let's talk about that, because you engage in an audit. That is the role of your office. And the audit came out with some pretty surprising conclusions. 1 or 4 park trees were dead or in poor condition. The irrigation system was failing. There was trash throughout the parks, uneven turf, extensive weeds. I mean, this is Long Beach. You don't expect that in Long Beach.
Right, exactly. And, you know, it's very sad because the trees mean a lot to people. And, you know, our parks, as you said, are really a beautiful part of the city of Long Beach. So you're right, we were stunned by the results of the study that we looked at, that 1 in 4 park trees was either dead or dying or in poor condition.
And was that because of the drought, in that irrigation had been pulled back, or was that part of the issue?
I think it's part of the issue, and I think it was an accumulation of several things, sort of the perfect storm for this to happen. So we felt it was really necessary, important, and urgent to come out with this audit report and let the city council, city manager aware that we need to immediately set aside funding to increase our maintenance, to keep these parks in a state of a better
repair, not disrepair.
Right, exactly. And
let me ask you, Auditor, about the issue of who's maintaining the parks. Without getting into a deep political conversation about outsourcing, what we do know is that maintenance had been outsourced.
Yes.
Meaning the folks that were maintaining the parks were not city employees. Did you conclude that was part of the problem, the outsourcing?
Well,
or not per se?
I would say I think they did the best with what they had.
Okay.
They were required to provide the same level of service with a number of increased parks, medians, facilities,
and that's what
and
we
so
talked
forth.
about. 16 additional new parks or improvements, 18 other locations, street medians, and no new monies.
Right, no new money. And so they were spread pretty thin throughout the city, and there was only so much they could do.
I see.
So, you know, we recommended that the city gardeners play a more critical role in this.
And that brings up, I think, a valid question. While outsourcing can be a net positive, it can save money, and I cast no aspersions to those that are part of an outsourced crew, can there be a little more oversight?
Yeah. Exactly, right, exactly. As part of the city and Parks and Recs Department, for them to have greater oversight and look at the areas that are a priority, and have a priority list of those things that need most help. And one of our recommendations was to have a strategic plan and look at the whole picture of what's happening with the city.
Let me say this, if I may, and these are my words, not yours, so I will say that right now. It appears, from the way I read the press coverage of this, that the Parks Department was, and this is my word, not yours, recalcitrant when they received your audit. To state it another way, they didn't seem pleased and they didn't seem so willing to accept your recommendations, participate in your recommendations. What are your thoughts on my views?
I think my initial response was the same thing. I felt like I was expecting for them to embrace our recommendations and be a champion for change, and our parks are important, and these are excellent, reasonable recommendations. I mean, to put a strategic plan together and look at the whole picture and make sure we factor in maintenance, that doesn't seem like a very unreasonable recommendation. And so I think their point of view was, look, all of your recommendations require funding. We're very limited. We're maxed out. There's budget constraints. Where we have staff constraints. But we're like, hey, we need to think outside of just traditional approaches at this point.
Well, I mean, could it be that we turn to some grants? I mean, there are environmental organizations, I presume, that could be part of the solution. Volunteers, maybe?
Yes, you're right on point.
Or what about, I mean, ultimately, though, I guess it's a city council question. I mean, they provide funding to the Parks Department.
Yes, but I think the Parks Department could take our recommendations and present it to the City Council and say, we need to think outside the box here. We need to look at outside sources, grants, public-private partnerships, naming rights, selling rights, sponsorships.
And that's not within your purview, is that right?
Well, our audit made the recommendation we could direct the City Council to request city management to do it.
Interesting.
But the way we approached it was we went straight to the parks, and we just thought that they would embrace it and go for it.
Is there a Parks Commission?
Yes, there is.
Appointed by the City Council? Is it appropriate to try to engage them?
Yes, and I think they're in a bit of a...
I get it.
Because they do have a policy that they want to increase maintenance funding as well, but it is part of a bigger picture, of a city picture. I'm pleased that we brought this to the forefront. That we brought it, it's important now. We're right in the middle of budget season. The City Council, the mayor, the whole elected leadership know the importance of this to the public and what we brought to light.
What did the elected say? Has there been a response from Mayor Garcia of Long Beach, City Council members as well? Did this raise some eyebrows?
Yes, and what they have said is there is funding that will be allocated to the Parks and Recs over the next 3 years.
Because in the scheme of things, I don't know that you're asking for that much. I mean, it's easy for me to say, but is it that you're looking at for about $3.1 million?
Well, first of all, there is a huge irrigation problem that needs to be solved. That's over $100 million. But we figured that the city is probably under budget about $1 million annually for maintenance.
In the scheme of things, is that a lot of money?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think as a priority for the city, that's something that is reasonable, that could be implemented. And I think the elected leadership throughout this budget season, we're going to watch and wait and see. But I'm getting the sense that they're feeling the importance of it as well.
And can you lobby? Is it appropriate for you as the auditor?
I mean, we put our message out there.
You lobbied. The message is your lobbying.
Yeah, I mean, we brought this important issue to light.
Okay. Her name is Laura Doud. She is the city auditor of the city of Long Beach. My name is Brad Pomerance in Signal Hill, actually. Right? A donut within Long Beach. Charter Local Edition.